You already know who it is, man. It's King Ade with the Wizards Review. And before we go any further, man, it just feels good to be back in front of this camera, man. Yo, this might have been like the longest NBA All-Star break. That's how it felt to me, you know what I'm saying? I know they extended the break a little bit to give the players a rest, but I don't know, man. Just being all into this season, man, it just felt even longer, you know what I mean? So it just felt good to see some good basketball, and we saw a great game tonight. I'm not even gonna lie, win or lose, this was a great game. Got all the way to over 150 points scored by both teams. I mean, double overtime. I mean, this is the type of basketball that to come back to after a long break. You know what I mean? It was great. The only disappointment of this great game was we came up short, man. We caught the L. You know what I mean? In DC, man, it was a tough game. We played the Spurs. And you know the Spurs is always a tough opponent for the Wizards, no matter who they have on their team. You know what I mean? And, you know, I already know about Murray. You know what I'm saying? I already know about their point guard. I know he's nice. And I know that the Spurs never bring a, you know, always going to have a competitive team on the floor. You know what I mean? But I was very impressed. They're not the same type of Spurs that we're accustomed to, you know, the Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu type Spurs, championship level Spurs teams that of the past. They're not that. But they are an impressive team, and they find themselves in a similar situation that we have in the East. They're in the 11th spot in the West, you know what I mean? So they're fighting for a play-in, but they're a dangerous team, you know what I mean? They showed a lot of potential. They showed a lot of, you know, just good basketball, and it was an impressive game, you know what I'm saying? But with all that said, I still felt that we should have won this game, you know what I mean? We should have won the game. A couple of possessions that could have went either way that really, in my eyes, was the reason we lost the game, man. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, there were a lot of good, positive moments in the game, a lot of things we could build off of, and we're going to start there since we lost the game, man. So before we go any further, man, I was just happy that Gafford started. You know what I'm saying? And again, man, I know Coach Unseld is a defensive-minded coach. That's why we hired him. And for when Gafford was benched and, you know, just benched, all the way benched, and then even when, after the trade deadline, Gafford was coming off the bench after Bryant, you know what I mean? Now, before the trade deadline when Gafford was benched, I feel like that call was above his pay grade. He didn't make that decision. As a defensive-minded coach, you're going to start your best defensive players, man, especially in the post. That's just common sense. So I know he didn't make that decision to not only not start Gafford, but not play him. No, I know he didn't make that decision, you know what I'm saying? So I noticed after the trade deadline, the rotations got shorter, and it looked like the way Coach Unseld likes to coach, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, the rotations got shorter. But still, Gafford wasn't starting. Bryant was starting. And I just think, you know, I still think that was kind of a call, you know, above his pay grade as well. You know what I mean? Front office was like, let's just see how Bryant does. You know what I mean? But after this break, you know, and of course, in practice also has probably something to do with it as well. But I just feel like Coach Unseld has the 100%. Now, he doesn't have the front office telling him what he should do and who he should play and who he should not play. And he has 100% full control of who he wants to play. And that's what it looked like tonight, man. You know what I mean? So, again, I just like to see that Gafford, a better defensive player, started. Although there was no defense being played, especially in the first half, it still was good to see Gafford back starting. So I wanted to start there. Our ball movement, man, today, throughout the game, I mean, we scored over 150 points. So that just shows that our offense was clicking. You know what I'm saying? But our ball movement was excellent. We started our first 9 shots, 8 of them came off assists. You know what I mean? So again, that just shows ball movement. Probably, you know, coach, the team. Nobody made the All-Star team from the Wizards this year. So, you know, they all were there to practice. You know what I mean? So I just think they emphasized ball movement. and playing with a lot of energy. You know, some of the things we complained about early in the season when they came out with lack of energy, that did not occur tonight. You know what I mean? Not at least on the offensive end. You know what I'm saying? We played great offense today. So I definitely like what I saw. 59% shooting to out from the field in the first quarter, I believe. Great line. You know what I mean? That was beautiful. We were hitting threes tonight, something that we struggled with throughout the season, but we saw improvement going into the All-Star break, and it continued tonight. We started 4 of 5, ended the first quarter 5 for 9, and then we ended the first half 11 from 18 from the three-point line. You know what I mean? And we continued that. Let me see what we did overall in the game. 16 for 38. So we definitely dropped off in the second half. Definitely dropped off in the second half in overtime to end up with a 16 for 38 stat line when we were 11 for 18 to end the first half. You know what I mean? So obviously we didn't shoot the ball well at all from the three-point line in the second half and overtime. And then just looking at that box score and seeing the amount of threes we shot, in the second half, 23s, because we were 11 for 18 to end the first half, and we ended the game 16 for 38. So we shot 23s, and we only made 5. You know what I mean? So we shot too many threes in the second half and overtime. You know what I mean? We didn't get to the basket enough, and that could have been, you know, the difference between the win and the loss. You know what I mean? Just not running the offense and settling for threes when I guess we shot less threes in the first half but made more in the first half. You know what I mean? But you know that we still shot the ball better from the three-point line than we have earlier in the season. So I definitely like seeing that. KCP started hot. He was one of those players that cooled down towards the end of in the second half and into overtime, but he started really hot from the three-point line. Hit his first three threes of the first half. You know what I mean? Of the game. You know what I mean? So he definitely was working on his shot. You know what I'm saying? Working on his shot during the All-Star break, and it showed. But he ran out of gas. Kuzma, best player on the floor tonight. Both teams, in my opinion, the best player for the most part. You know what I'm saying? I thought he took a few bad shots, but we'll get into that a little later. But he did a little bit of everything. Almost had a triple-double. He scored, rebounded. He started to get hot in the second quarter and then got hot again in the fourth quarter to help us force overtime. You know what I mean? So definitely like what I saw from him for the majority of the game. And yeah, 12 points in the fourth quarter. Again, just helped to get us to overtime. Unfortunately, he couldn't get us the win, though. You know what I'm saying? Denny looked good tonight, man. Especially just coming into the game, he was, scoring, looking better on the offensive end. And he hit a 3 immediately. You know what I'm saying? But he played some good defense, although there were times where he got crossed up. You know what I mean? There were times where he got scored on. You know what I mean? But he played tough defense, and he played a good game. Just showed good potential tonight, man. Bryant, he had some energy off the bench. He didn't get into double figures tonight. And then in the closing the game, Gaffer got all the minutes. You know what I mean? But Bryant still showed a little bit of energy, you know what I'm saying? But he was off from the three-point line. So again, settling for threes, part of the reason we didn't get the win tonight, you know what I mean? But as he gets his wind back, get his legs back, I feel he's gonna be a great contributor. And for him to come off the bench is, you know, great switch up from having Gafford, a player that is defensive minded, rebounder, block shots, but doesn't have a three-point shot. To have Bryant coming off the bench to provide a totally different look is something that I think will be to our advantage as the season moves forward. I felt Rui tonight also. He showed some flashes tonight. You know what I mean? He scored, was assisting, had a crazy nice pass. I think in the first half, you know what I mean? But he didn't close the game out. You know what I'm saying? But still, he showed some potential. Showed that he's getting better. So I definitely like what I saw from him tonight. Just wish I could see a little more of it. Maybe he could have got in a little bit in the overtime period because the coach Unseld didn't take any of our players out in overtime, so you could tell they were gassed and they were winded. Maybe that might have, helped us in the overtime, having a player with some more energy on the floor. That's debatable though, so I'm not going to fault Coach Unseld for sticking with the players that got him into overtime, but we could have maybe Rui's a key piece to what we're trying to do. So I felt he may have been able to help us in the overtime, man. But overall, I still like what I saw from him. Ish coming off the bench, keeping the pace up. You know what I mean? Played a good game off the bench. I definitely like what I saw from him for the most part. And then, of course, Neto, man, played one of his best games tonight. Had a career-high 9 assists tonight. So I definitely like what I saw from Neto, man. Neto looks happy that he's starting, and he's just playing a good game. He's still a liability on defense, but he's still a scrappy player. Had 4 rebounds, 22 points, you know what I mean? So he played well tonight, man. Definitely played well. We scored 71 points to end the first half, you know what I mean? So to put up that many points shows that our offense was running very well tonight, man. So I definitely like seeing that. We finally started to play some defense in the second half, in the third quarter. You know what I'm saying? There was a moment in the third quarter that we held the Spurs scoreless for 3 minutes in the second half. You know what I mean? So I wish we had some of that defensive intensity in the first half, but I just think both teams were hyped, ready to play, ready to come out, because both teams ran great offense. It wasn't as if the defense was just, we could say the defense was lacking, but it was because of the great offense being run by both teams. You know what I mean? There was effort. It was just, both teams were hitting shots. That's what was going down. Over 50% shooting from both teams, you know what I'm saying, in the first half. So, it was great defense. Both teams, though, stepped up the defense in the second half. What else? We started to force turnovers in the second half as well. Forced turnovers in the third quarter. We went on a 15-3 run in the third quarter. And I was hoping that was going to be the run to push the game open, but they came back, kept the game close, and again, that's why we went into double overtime. You know what I mean? I felt there was a great trap at the end of the fourth quarter that helped force overtime. I think we trapped Murray, and it forced him to make a turnover that helped us get a good shot to help us, force overtime. You know what I mean? So just great. Again, the defense was much, much better in the second half, man. Neto hit some big shots in overtime after having some terrible possessions. He made up for it with some big shots to force the double overtime, man. So I definitely like that. And Gafford, man, he was playing with a lot of energy. He's winded. He's still working on his wind, working on his stamina, but he had some big plays in the second overtime. Playing tough, playing hard, playing with a lot of energy, but unfortunately it wasn't enough for us to get the win. You know what I'm saying? But overall, that's all I have in regards to everything that I liked tonight, man. But overall, man, everything I liked was enough to win the game. We could have won the game, and I felt we should have won the game. But we didn't get it done, and the reasons why are about to be spoken on right now. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that I disliked about the game tonight. Starting with the Spurs being able to just score at will, score easily, especially in the first half tonight. But throughout the game, I just felt they scored 157 points. Of course, granted, it went into double overtime, but 157 points. Still scored 130 plus points to end the fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? So our defense was lacking. You know what I'm saying? They moved the ball well. I mean, it was like, especially in the first half, it was like, what you could do, I could do better. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. You know what I'm saying? Both sides. Like, They might make a big shot, then we follow up with a big shot. We might make a big shot, they follow up with a big shot. It was going back and forth throughout the game. I mean, it was a great game. It just hurts that we took the L. I hate losing a great game, you know what I'm saying? But it went back and forth, but it was not a game for defense tonight. Not at all, not at all, man. The Spurs dominated us in the paint tonight. They scored 20 points in the paint alone in the first quarter and 44 points by the end of the first half in the paint. We played a much better defensive game, paint defense in the second half. You know what I'm saying? Overall, we played better defense overall in the second half, but definitely we played much better defense in the paint, man. Murray, that he is the truth, the future at the point guard position, man. He did a little bit of everything tonight, man. He had a triple-double, scoring, assisting, rebounding. He had a monster triple-double, man. Let me see that stat. He had, what he had? 31, 14 assists, 13 rebounds. He did have 6 turnovers, though, and a lot of those turnovers occurred in the second half. Again, we forced a lot of turnovers. And he had some bad shots at the end of the clock and going into the fourth, to close the fourth quarter and the first overtime. He left time on the clock. You know what I'm saying? When you're supposed to take the last shot, and if you miss, it goes into overtime. But he gave us a chance. Unfortunately, we couldn't capitalize. You know what I mean? Get the win. But overall, he still had a monster game, man. He was hard to stop. We had nothing for him, man. His mid-range game was crazy. He had 28 and 8 by the end of the first half. So you already saw that he was going to have a triple-double. And he had a triple-double by the third quarter. Monster game tonight, man. An elite point guard. You know what I'm saying? Portal got hot as well. And it's starting in the second half, and he was just a monster. Almost had a triple-double as well. Let me look at his stat line real quick. Portal had 28 and 11. 28 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists with only 1 turnover. I mean, that's a monster game right there, man. And again, we already know a weakness. As much as I like Gafford's energy, Thomas Bryant's energy, they're not the best rebounders, and they're small at the center position. So if you have a decent center on the opposing team that can rebound and score and be a smart player, he's always going to give us problems. And that's what happened tonight, man. So I definitely didn't like that. The Spurs started to get hot from the three-point line in the second quarter. Johnson really got crazy hot in the first half. He had 18 points, 11 in the first quarter. And he was the only one for a while for the Spurs that was hitting threes before other players started to hit threes. You know what I mean? So I definitely didn't like him getting hot. When Cassius Winston got a little bit of minutes. He only had 4 minutes and had 3 fouls in those 4 minutes, man. So I don't know if he's going to be able to, you know what I mean? This is a big time for him to show, his worth and show that he can be a valuable member moving forward into future seasons with the Wizards. But I just feel he's too small, man. Like, he was a great point guard in college, but in the NBA, you got to have some size and be able to play defense. And if you can't do that, if you're going to be that small, you got to be an offensive juggernaut, something like Isaiah Thomas. And Winston isn't that, man. So I don't know, man. But, he still got 20-plus games to prove himself. But to have 3 fouls in 4 minutes and didn't get back in the game just shows, the kind of liability that he can be on the defensive end. Damn, I got so many notes that I didn't like, man. The Spurs dominated us on the boards, both offensive and defensive rebounding. They dominated us throughout the game again. We're just too small on the front court. So I'm hoping when Porzingis gets into the lineup, that helps clean that part of our game up, because we lack on the rebounding end. Big time. You know what I mean? Big time, man. The Spurs take the lead. We had the lead for a long time in the first half, but the Spurs finally took the lead in the second quarter, and they scored 45 points in the second quarter. I mean, that's almost 50 points in one quarter. So again, our defense was lacking in the first half, yo. They ended the first half with 75 points. So they scored 45 points in the second quarter, 30 points in the first quarter. 30 points in the quarter is too many points. It's up that by 45, by 15, and score 45 in the second quarter. Just terrible. But again, to our credit, we stepped it up a little bit, had a better effort in the second half and into overtime on the defensive end, man. But just too many points, man. 75 points. They got to tighten that up, man. The Spurs started the third quarter fast. We were up. They were up, 4 points, 75-71. They were up 4 points, and they extended the lead to 9 points. They went on a 5-0 run immediately to start the second half. So I definitely didn't like that. But to our credit, we clamped down and started to play better defense. You know what I mean? So I like seeing that. They eventually took a double-digit lead in the third quarter. But to our credit, we came back after that double-digit lead to close the game, to close the gap, and we took the lead temporarily. You know what I'm saying? So we came back. We didn't back down after they went on a big run in the third quarter. So I definitely like seeing that. The Spurs had an 11-0 run to end the fourth quarter. Towards the end of the fourth quarter, that is, you know what I'm saying? And that helped them get to overtime, you know what I mean? Like, we could have won this game if we just played better defense starting the game and in key stretches in the second half as well. But we just didn't get the defensive. That was the reason we lost the game. Like, I could go, and I'm going to continue this list, but the reason we lost the game was because we didn't play good defense. Bottom line, man. We forgot how to play defense. And then in the fourth quarter, man, towards the end of the fourth quarter, we started to just miss everything, man. I just felt also, as good as the game Kuzma played tonight, I felt that there were times in the fourth quarter and in the overtimes where he was just doing a little bit too much, not moving the ball, trying to go one-on-one. And again, he's a good player, but he is not that guy yet. You know what I mean? Right now, I give him a 7.5 in the spectrum of NBA players. He's a great player, a great third option, and can even be a good second option. And when Bill gets back and Porzingis gets back, again, a good third scorer. I like that three-man line. That three-headed monster. You know what I mean? I like that. But there were times where he started to look like he thought he was LeBron or something, like he was Giannis or something. Like he had the green light to take the game over, and I just don't think he's there yet. You know what I'm saying? He needs to pass the ball, reposition himself, and get a better shot, or get a better shot for one of his teammates. You know what I'm saying? I felt that was part of the reason why we didn't get the win. We just didn't run the offense. He started to do that one-on-one thing. He started to get, feel himself, which, with the game that he had, I could understand that. But he has to see the big picture. We need to win. We need to win, you know what I'm saying? And I just felt that there were times in the second half and in the overtimes where he took some bad shots, man. So I definitely didn't like that. Also, Lonnie Walker for the Spurs started to get hot in overtime, really. He started to really take over and put his imprint in the game in the overtime periods. And he was a big reason why the Spurs got the win tonight, man. So I definitely didn't like that. I mentioned Neto having some big shots in the, I think overtime. Was it overtime? Hold on. Neto, in the first overtime, Neto had some big shots, but he had some terrible turnovers, terrible possessions, a bad turnover, and then a bad foul in overtime. But he made up for it with the big shots. You know what I mean? So, I guess there was a wash, but that foul and that turnover was glaring. You know what I mean? Because that turnover at that moment, if we could have got a shot, we would have went up 3. You know what I mean? We could have went up 3, but instead we had a 1-point lead, and then we, turned the ball over and then fouled. They got to the line, made their free throws, and took the lead. You know what I mean? So that was a big momentum shift in the game. But like I said, he made up for it when he made some big J to tie the game up, man. So, it is what it is, man. And then Murray, man. I can't even be mad for KCP attempting to get that steal in the second overtime. I mean, his fingertips was right there. I mean, if he got the steal, we could have sealed the win. But he missed the steal, and then Murray made his only three of the night, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and that three with the dagger three that really closed the game out. You know what I mean? And that's, you know what I mean? I don't want to say that's the reason we lost. And again, I can't blame KCP for trying to close the game. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, we didn't get that steal, and then for Murray to make that big three. These guys are NBA players. He's the all-star, and that was part of his big game tonight, man. So I definitely didn't like the fact that we missed that steal, man. But yeah, that's everything I disliked about the game tonight, and those are the reasons why we lost the game. But the biggest reason we lost the game was because of our lack of defense tonight, man. We got to go back to the drawing board. And 24 games in 45 days, a lot of back-to-backs. Tomorrow, we're going to Cleveland. After a double overtime game, 6 quarters, we got to go to Cleveland tomorrow and play again. So I feel like a lot of the players that didn't play, like Rui, Thomas Bryant, a lot of the players that didn't play in the overtime are going to get a lot of minutes to start the game tomorrow because we're going to have some tired legs. We had a crazy double overtime, high effort game. You know what I mean? So a lot of the players that didn't play in the overtime, they're going to get some big minutes, I believe, tomorrow night, man. So it's against a tough opponent. I mean, Cleveland's not a pushover, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People are really looking at them as a championship contender, man. So it's not going to get any easier, man, but we need this win, man. We need to get a win if we want to keep our play-in chances alive, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. I want to see how they regroup, and hopefully they play some much better defense tomorrow because we're definitely going to need it against a team like Cleveland, you know what I mean? So anyway, man, that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. If you like what y'all heard tonight, man, I would really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel at the Wizards Review on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can follow me, King Ade DMV, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on NBA 2K22 on the Xbox Series S and X. You know what I mean? So anyway, man, quick turnaround. You know what I mean? Have a good night. See y'all right back here tomorrow after the game. You already know how I do, man. All right? Take care. Peace.